This is on so I can see what I'm doing. Welcome to the City Council Budget Workshop for Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. We have 6 out of 6 councilors present, so we have a quorum. And we'll start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't know if there's any spare agendas on the table or not, but we've only got 6 items on here tonight. And the first one is the discussion of the vacant council seat that we tabled from the last regular city council meeting of November 6th, I believe, to tonight's meeting. So we'll open that discussion up at this point in time. We've been discussing and had some interesting, really good interest from the public to volunteer to step up and help us fill this vacancy, and we really appreciate that. It's good to see the interest from people that may or may not already be sitting here right now. So I'll start with Kim. Kim has the most information really on this right now, our city clerk, and I think I'd like to start with the dates and the requirements of what we're required to do and when, so that everybody in the room's really on the same page.
So if you don't appoint somebody in the next 30 days, I have to call a special election, which has to be held within the next 90 to 120 days, which will get you to somewhere between March 2nd and April 2nd, because the 30 days gets me Thanksgiving, so I've gone off December 2nd as my date I'm working with, because that's next business day. So I just put in election for March 18th as a date, because it fits between the dates, and like nomination papers would be available December 8th if we did a special election. Then they'd be due back to me by the 17th of January. And then, absentee ballots would be available on the 16th of February to have election on March 18th. It is a cost to the city. The last time we had a special election, when we had a runoff for the school board, we had 14 people that showed up.
Wasn't that because it was a write-in? They were write-ins, and they kind of came out tied.
They come out tied, but it
And then there was a special election,
to do that.
right?
And we have to be there from 8 to 8. We have to have Democrats and Republicans there to be even. So there's a minimum of 6 people you're going to pay from 8 to 8. And I'm worried that you're not going to have enough people to come to pay the, be worth it for one counselor. And I can clarify to see if it's June or November, because I believe I had called last time, and I believe they said it was the next regular council appointment. So that's why I think we've always gone November, but I can clarify that tomorrow.
Because that would save somebody from, you're going to run twice
No matter
anyway,
what.
right? If we do a special election, you're going to pull papers, do it
In
and then do it in November.
Yep, we'd have to do in December during the holidays, and then again in November.
And the last 2 appointments, one was Derek, one was myself. Both were, I believe I was January and he was April,
And we did them.
which would have been before your June
Yep.
school board meeting. And neither of us went on to that. We just went on to a normal November election.
That's why I'm thinking when we checked it in last spring, it was the regular council appointment time, because we don't usually do council in June, so I believe that's what it went through, but I can double check
Right.
what I'm recalling.
Well, yeah, well, that's what I asked at the last meeting. That's why I kind of wanted to know, because it seemed to me otherwise, like I mentioned, it's kind of a boondoggle to have to be there 6 months and then run again, and then
Yeah.
you're only going to be there for 6 months after you do that, and then you go. It's an awful lot of work for.
I can verify
A
that,
year.
but that's just me recalling last spring, but,
Yeah.
And I just pulled up, it doesn't look like the charter had been amended, amended in 23 and then 13. So there wouldn't have been any changes to that language in that time,
that's,
in that time frame.
Right.
Would that be correct? So that was the same language when I was appointed and when Derek was
Right.
appointed. So maybe whatever we end up
So if we
pursuing, we
if we're
can
cons-
clarify that going forward.
So let's make an assumption that November is when the election's going to take place.
Correct.
So if we held a special election, we would be going from January or
To
whenever
November.
that person takes place,
Mhm.
be March,
Mhm.
and they would go till
November.
December. Well, they go till December 31st,
Right.
and then in November,
They'd have
before
to-
they got done, they could choose to either rerun
Mhm,
for the next term
right,
of 4 years.
They get their papers, what, like August or September?
Yeah.
yeah, it's like the end of July usually, I think.
But that also means we need to appoint someone by 27th of November?
If you appoint somebody, then they're good till November.
Right.
Unless tomorrow I find out different, it'll be June, but if you appoint somebody today, they would be good till November based on what I find out tomorrow.
And that's going on the verbiage that Kevin was just talking about,
Right.
just
So
following through.
some of the people that have indicated an interest said that they're good till June, but they're not good after June. So here's the thing, that's why I'm suggesting that we may not be able to make a decision tonight, because some of the people that, and they're all good, might not be able to do what they thought because the rules are changing.
Yeah.
Because they're going till November now. And actually, they're going really till December.
Well, nothing says you can't appoint them and then them resign if they can't do it the whole length. And then you're coming up on your normal election anyways.
Yeah, but then it's like we've got another process, so like we've done all year, is that we've had that empty seat, and I think we at least owe it to the constituents to have a full council.
I think having Hank and Derek's experience in the last 8 months is a significant learning curve. And when you go from one person to the next person to the next person, you're really
Mhm.
You wanna
starting
appoint?
that learning curve over again.
Mm.
If you appointed somebody today, they're gonna be here until 12/31/25.
Mhm.
So, and I think that some people may not be prepared to, they may withdraw their names.
So, I guess you've got to make a couple decisions in front of that. Are we agreeing that the next regular election would be November, and thus we have to appoint someone by the 27th?
Right.
Is that what
If we
everyone's
do,
on this?
yeah,
If we do an appointment.
yes.
Right.
Yeah,
If you don't do the appointment, then I have to do the special election, and then you'll have the person running twice.
So
Whether it's June or November, once I find that out tomorrow.
there's
Right.
kind of two things that have changed right now, and I don't think I'm ready to really make a decision on it this evening. But we do have to do it before the 27th. And I think because of Thanksgiving and some other things, we're gonna nail down a date, and that is the only, we have to have a decision on that date.
Mm.
Whether we appoint, and I think that decision is, do we appoint or do we have an election?
Right. That's what I was trying to. So
Right.
you don't want to clarify that today?
no,
I'll get MMA
I'm
to
not-
find out
Okay,
for
we'll
sure.
clarify that
tomorrow.
decision from
I
them
say,
first.
yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Is that okay? Or is what okay? So, I've talked too much. You guys go ahead and chat. Go ahead and take the floor.
I guess if we find out for sure that November's fine, that would be a whole hell of a lot easier for everyone involved, that they get appointed for a year.
Mhm.
and then they'd have a whole year to learn and whatever, and then if they wanna keep running, they can, and I think that would be my brother, that someone have that opportunity than to have it broke up twice in a year, 'cause that's just no fun. And it's not, you might just get going and then someone else gets elected and then, you know, then we're just in constant
You might be leaning that way right now until you see the list of the people, and then you may say, well, these are all good people, let's let the public decide.
So the 27th is not a holiday, it's the day before Thanksgiving.
Yep.
So we could hold a special meeting for that date here.
I would prefer you do it the week before, cause I'm not
Yeah.
here that week.
Oh, well, I was
If
just thinking to
possible.
give it as much time as possible.
Yeah. And, I mean, I'm gonna be local that I can come in for a meeting if I,
Mr. Chair, do you have a list of those names that you keep mentioning?
I don't.
Just my 2 cents. I think we should just consider the names of the people who were on the ballot from this last election. We had a citizen that spoke at the public comments at the last meeting who suggested that as well. Since the actual election was just less than 2 weeks away, we know all those people were interested. The other ones, if they were, the ones who have stepped forward now who show interest, I'm just curious why they did not show interest when the actual election came up. Because we know the people who did run, who were on the ballot, all those people are interested, and they are interested for the long term, to at least be on the council. So that could save us from having a special election and the extra cost to the city by just choosing or voting on somebody that was on the ballot back in November. And that's just my.
And when
My
does
2
that effectiveness take place of if you were to appoint someone that day?
yeah, they can.
Okay.
They'd be sworn
Because-
in at the next regular council
Like
meeting.
technically Mike won, where he is filling a spot, he
Yeah.
could actually be sworn in now. He
Yeah.
doesn't have to wait till December.
But, Derek, no positive
Yeah.
or negative here,
Yep.
but that would mean that you would be ineligible.
It would be yes, which is fine.
Okay.
Unless if Mike was sworn in before and he replaced me, then I would be eligible at that time. But if that wasn't the case, then yeah, I would be ineligible.
Okay.
So it's whatever is in the best interest of
Yeah.
everybody else.
So your call to MMA in the morning is
I
going
will
to be
call
to
him
find
first
out
thing.
if the next regular election is in November or June.
And
that makes a big difference on
Yep.
kind of what we do, cause honestly, you know, if it's only 6 months, and it's 6 months, that's kinda, so.
You guys wanna make a motion? I don't think we have enough information right now.
So-
So,
We gotta set a date then.
So.
20th.
yeah, what would
So
the
what's,
date be?
what's the date?
next Wednesday is the 20th, if you want
I think
Wednesday.
it should be next week. I don't,
I just think if you wait till the when I'm not here, but that's,
I don't know if the
should have all the information by next week.
I don't know if the 21st is good for you guys. I know that 19th and 20th, I'm out of town both days, up country for appointments for this time of year, and might be tough getting back here by this time.
Is Wednesday no good?
Thursday's good for me, but
Thursday's good?
Yeah, I'll give an extra day.
21st?
It's fine with
Anybody cannot make the 21st? Oh, okay. Do we have a date that we can agree to, and now we need a motion?
Yeah.
I've already got those appointments all set up, so that'd be good if I could.
No, I'm good.
Okay, Mr. Chair, so I'd move that we table the appointment until a special meeting that would take place on next Thursday, the 21st. Do we need to determine a time? 6,
Yeah, I would say 6.
at 6 o'clock in the evening?
Second that.
Moved by Doug and seconded by Derek. Is there any other discussion? I appreciate the opportunity to get some more answers. And,
Yeah.
any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 6-0. Thank you.
I'll get that first thing.
I would ask people that are interested in this open seat to consider that likely will be from December 1 till December of 31 of 2025. So keep that in mind, and if you could forward those names to the city manager in the next 5 to 6 days, and possibly even be present on Thursday the 21st at 6 o'clock, then council can make a good and informed decision, I think. If not, and if it looks like it's too difficult to decide, and there's great people, which I know they all are, then we might actually hold a special election and ask these people to pull names and nominations. So, okay. Next item is item 2, the tax lien waiver for closures. And we'll ask the city manager to discuss that and go from there.
Yes, so as far as the tax liens and waivers go, I'm actually gonna have those come up. We had Debbie prepare this for us. We do have 5. You did receive a handout? 5 or 6? 4, 5, 6, 7.
So I believe this list was generated by the tax collector, and these on here, we have a much bigger list of liens that are gonna expire. But these are the ones we know for certain at this time we wanna waive. Almost all of them are mobile homes in parks or on leased land. And if we become the owner of those, then we're subject to paying lot lease and lots of other issues that go along with it. So at this time, we certainly wanna waive those. I think we need to leave it open to come back. The list again is fairly extensive, it's still unpaid and will expire, but she anticipates a lot of them are gonna be paid between now and December 4th. So your next meeting is December 4th, a final list I think will come then. For now, this list will be.
So, this one, where is it?
It's right in the back
When that list is
bigger.
finalized, can you also note what's owed
Alright.
dollars?
Yes, in fact, it prints on the list when she prints it, and we do have those numbers now, but yet the interest is accruing daily. An awful lot of what's on this list are duplex homes and, some commercial properties that we really expect that those people are gonna, take care of between now and then.
Are you saying this has a dollar amount on it?
No, not that one.
Okay, so I
that's
see
a
there's
different-
numbers on the left side here, that's not dollars.
That's right, so.
'Kay.
You're looking at this one. Yeah.
Okay.
So the one that says tax acquired on it, is that what you had? in
Yep.
mind? So those are properties that the city already owns, tax acquired years back.
Oh,
And if
geez.
you look at the next column, you can see the date that it was acquired.
Yeah, that's the.
Yep, that is
that's the
my-
years they're asking for.
That is my fault.
So what's on the agenda though is just this one with the 7 items on it.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, I guess I don't have that.
And apparently from the looks of this list, none of these are ones that are in any way, shape, or form issues for code violations at this point.
In fact, there is one in that situation that's not on this list, okay? And that has been looked at, Tim has been on top of that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good there.
So all of these are okay, and they won't come back and be an issue that we should have done something and didn't? Okay, good, perfect.
And the final statement on that is, we'll probably see this exact same list again next year, okay?
Okay.
It's not our last chance.
Gotcha, perfect. You're on it.
Louis,
We're learning.
did you make a recommendation?
The recommendation is that you waive foreclosure on all 7 properties listed on that sheet.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we waive foreclosure on the 7 properties presented by Lewis.
I'll second it.
Moved by Craig and seconded by Hank. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 6-0. Thank you. Item 3 is a 5-year fee schedule.
So these are, front of you in your packet there, you do have, the 5-year fee schedule. We did a bit of comparison to
There it is.
surrounding communities, but mostly just added incremental dollar amounts to the schedule itself. Roughly in the 5 to 15%.
Which these were proposed last meeting, I believe. So these are the same that were proposed. Okay. Well, they all look.
There are gonna be some changes at the form. Tyler's still working through some of those changes. So you could either wait and have the full updated sheets for the December meeting, and just pass it then. Nothing else will change, probably just the form.
You're sure you'll have that by then?
This is overall 5 to 10%.
Yeah,
What's it, I mean, what's that aggregate to the city budget? Under 3,000-4,000 bucks?
Depends on the number of permits and such issued.
What, for the form cost?
No, for like this whole, passing this whole thing is incrementally under 10,000 bucks to the city.
oh yeah.
So I'd be, this is like counting the number of paper clips in a box here. You-
Alright.
And
But,
the AV items are not frequently utilized.
yeah, so you're at little risk to pass this, now. And if it has to be supplemented with the forum, which is what, skating revenue?
Does that just put it in your budget if we just do this now, so you don't have to mess with it? Is that okay?
So you don't wanna discuss 20-cent copies?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
but
don't know.
He'll be able to charge in 25
Yeah.
without
Should it
any
be
type of
21
adoption.
cents? And then 21?
No, it would have to be still a.
Make it a quarter.
Okay, so,
July year.
so we might as well table it and approve it then rather than approve 2 times?
Yeah, I would probably wait.
Okay.
Just to get the full document all together, and pass it all at once.
Your choice.
Just so he has to have that approval if he's gonna start adding new costs or new charges.
Okay.
Okay.
It's minimal, but.
That works for you? Works for us?
Alright, Mr. Chair, make a motion to table a 5-year fee schedule until, next regularly scheduled council meeting in December.
December 5th, 4th. Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved by Doug and seconded by Hank. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? 6-0. Can make sure that's on the agenda for the 5th, right? Yeah. Budget presentations, item 4. Well, I guess we're into the budget thing for the airport. Did we table that last time?
We just have to.
The airport.
Oh, we didn't get to it. So I guess we're ready for our presentation by our airport director. This is the highlight of the meeting, man. This is it. This is the best part.
So we're gonna take it as long as last week, guarantee. Overall, we're projecting a slight surplus for the airport, about $5,000. By what we mean by that, our revenues that we take in cover all our expenses, plus some of the expenses for services provided by other city departments, like the fire department. Anytime that they're covering the airport, that time is logged, and that is actually charged back to the airport. For the first time this year, we'll actually we'll be reimbursing the Presque PD for the law enforcement officer that they provide during screening. That had been previously covered under a TSA grant. That funding mechanism was eliminated in April as part of that fiscal year federal budget. So that kind of explains the slight increase in the outside services budget item. That increased by about
Scott, let me interrupt you.
5.3.
Let me interrupt you for a second. We're on sort of all over the place on our books here. Do you know what page number we're supposed to be?
217.
Essentially, I am looking at page 221.
Alrighty. Let's catch up to you here so we're all on the same page. Okay.
So, our revenue increases slightly for next year, about 0.5%. Paid parking is the big mover in that. We're projecting a 49% increase over last year's budget. And we're projecting revenues of $120,000 for paid parking. Expense actually increased by 1.43%. The big movers on the expense side was gas and oil. That actually decreased by 42%. And we increased new equipment by 30%.
Okay. Is the cost of fuel per gallon dropping and that's the reason, or is it just?
That's correct. Last year we carried a very high price per gallon. This year it's quite a bit lower.
Inflation's coming down, boys. Let's see. You gonna go on beyond that? 222? Anything else?
No, that's it.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Wardwell?
Nope.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. That was a record.
That was a record.
Remember that.
We'll bank that one for the next one, yeah.
I have to get directions to Presque International.
Had to get a plug somehow.
Yeah, so I guess we're on item B, which is the PD, the police department. Hello, Chief Hayes.
How are you doing? I was asked by City Council and City Manager to come and speak with a little bit more detail about the pay rates for the sergeants and the police unit. So currently where we're at is our entry pay rate is $26.17 an hour. We are the second lowest paid police department in Aroostook County. As you already know, we are the biggest and the busiest police department in Aroostook County by double and sometimes even triple those numbers.
I think, is this a new handout?
So it'd be page 84 in your budget book, and then there's a handout that specifically
Okay.
speaks to the raise request.
Okay, I got 84.
You got a spare one?
I got PD payroll.
Oh, I won't take yours.
Okay, Kirsten, now we're with you.
No problem.
Thank you.
So the way we have it built up right now when it comes to retention, so an officer who works for us for 3 to 8 years, we have it built in that they'll get a 22-cent raise a year for 5 years. We also have it built when it comes to the sergeants, between 5 to 8 years, that they will get a 14-cent raise a year for 3 years. At that point, we've already invested somewhere between $500,000 to $800,000 in payroll and training for these officers. And when it comes to the other side of that equation, what departments are offering these officers, and I won't even say these officers, I'll say our officers, they're getting sign-on bonuses. They're getting offers anywhere between $4 to $6 more an hour, which, if they remain loyal to us and they stay for those 5 years, they will make a grand total of $2,900. Or if they leave us, they will make over $60,000. Now, I ask for loyalty, I respect loyalty, but I feel it also needs to be a two-way street. I grew up in the era of Larry Bird playing for the Boston Celtics, and people used to always say that Larry was loyal to the Celtics, he never left, and he most certainly did. But he also was the highest paid player on the team, and the team at the time was the highest paid in the NBA. It needs to be a two-way street, I feel. In the past 4 months, I've had 3 officers tell me that they were leaving. I will tell you that I am not humble at all. I begged them to stay. I promised them that things would get better. They did stay. But if they did not stay, we'd be having a very different conversation tonight, because we would be then 6 officers down. If we are 6 officers down, I have to shut down the midnight shift, which means there will be no law enforcement in the city of Presque between midnight and 6 a.m. I will be honest with you. I don't have the answers to say that money is the most important thing and money will change everything. But I can go by past precedent. And we have very recent past precedent, because the state police just did a raise across the board for their troopers just this past July. At the time of that raise, there were 9 troopers down in Aroostook County. They are now just 3 down. I believe what I heard that there were 60 troopers down in the state. They are now only 40 down, but they have more applications than they do have openings. The only thing that they changed was a pay rate scale. They upped their pay rate to $32.76 for entry level. I believe the Sheriff's Department is also doing the same thing. That number has actually gone around a lot for the last 6 to 9 months, even before the state police actually hit on that number. I've heard that number from other departments downstate as well. Somebody asked me once, when will it be the equilibrium? When will the rate stop going up and everybody will come to a decision that this is the fair rate? I think that the state police kind of hit the nail on the head on what is reasonable, what is fair, and what is attainable for either small departments and large departments. We will always have departments like Kennebunkport and Cape Elizabeth that will pay outrageous rates, but there are also smaller departments, and they can pay the $42 an hour. That is not feasible for any other law enforcement agency, including the state police. With all of that analysis, and I've done tons of different analysis when it comes to different departments, I think we need to start thinking about this differently. I think we need to start measuring ourselves. It's nice to have those other agencies as a guideline, but we need to measure ourselves against ourselves. We need to measure ourselves in Aroostook County. I don't care what happens south of Bangor. I've never got an officer from south of Bangor, and I've never lost one to south of Bangor. Where I'm losing officers is to people in Aroostook County, and where I'm not hiring people is people in Aroostook County. We need to be the gold standard, I believe, in this. We are the biggest city. We have, unfortunately, the worst crime in this city. We need to be the gold standard when it comes to everything, when it comes to law enforcement. And we are achieving those goals. We have magnificent training. We are getting better equipment. We have great cruisers. We are climbing. Where we are lacking desperately is pay rates. And this seems to be an ongoing issue. A couple of years ago, we had a big pay hike to get us just slightly below everybody else. And there's been a lot of changes over the last 2 years in this industry. I am not as pessimistic as some of the other chiefs statewide. I have heard some of them say that they think this industry will be dead in 5 to 7 years. I do not believe that. I hope that is not true. But I do believe that the next couple of years is going to be pivotal for this city. We are looking to grow as a city. We need to grow the police department at the same time.
Let me give you a chance to, let me interrupt you and give you a chance to collect your thoughts for a second, which is a favor in your,
Yeah,
a favor
absolutely.
for you, right? Are we talking about the patrol unit and the sergeants, or both? Or?
That is correct, yeah. It's the whole unit, yes.
So, for those that are not familiar with this, we negotiate contracts separately. We have a sergeant's contract, and then we have a patrol unit contract. And those contracts were negotiated 2 years ago?
Just this year,
Just this year.
This year.
And they go for 3 years, I believe.
3 years.
Okay, well, I was at some of those meetings, so I do remember some of this stuff, so we're talking, so this sheet here is adding the sergeants and the patrol units
That is
together.
correct.
Well, is that everyone on the books?
That is everybody who is not, all non-union employees are not on the books. So none of my administrative staff, myself, we're not on that. That covers everybody else who's a union person. So that's the dispatch, the officers, and the sergeants.
Would be this proposed
Correct.
increase. The others would be no proposed.
No,
Okay.
no,
You're content with that?
absolutely. That's not where we're hurting, you know.
If I can, so you said an officer starts at 2617.
That's correct.
What does I guess the other roles within that these proposed raises?
So a detective starts at 3014. A corporal starts at 3128. And a sergeant, I do have that pay scale. A sergeant starts at 3312.
When you have an opening for corporal or a sergeant, you get a fair amount of applicants.
It would all be in-house applicants. I have not had anybody from the outside.
Okay.
Normally seniority based, or is it?
No, it's exam based. They'll have to do an oral board. They'll have to do a written examination, and then it'll be my decision after that, depending.
Is that in-house based on contract?
A policy and contract, yes. That they have to go through those procedures of a written and an oral board. Correct.
No, the sergeant coming from within.
Oh no. I have to send it out publicly. I just have not had anyone from the outside apply.
Okay.
Recently, anyway.
If I may offer, I think,
No, just so the 2617 on ours and the 3276 on the state police are equivalent beginning amounts?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Right, sorry.
No, you're good. I think, as Chief has advised, we negotiated our contract, it was prior to the others, right? Presque set the standard, and then others eclipsed it, and had additional challenges, so I think we really got caught in a bad moment, a bad time period.
Any word from the union reps on this, or are we're just going at it without any advice from them?
Right now, I'm just going at it, and then depending on what we want to do, I can definitely bring the union reps into this as well.
And if this is coming, the sentiment kind of from some of the board, from some of the team,
Oh,
as
yeah.
they're seeing and applying for other positions around the area. We're noticing that, and we understand that pay is the biggest challenge. I think for us, this could be a good step of goodwill, over and above.
So where I haven't been involved in any of the negotiations as far as contracts are concerned, the three wages that you gave above the 26, those are all based on experience, training, passing tests, and doing all of that, correct? Is that where those numbers are coming from?
The 2617?
So like the 30, the 31, the 33?
Yes, those people will be promoted. So they've already been, depending on their contract, to be a corporal, you have to have at least 3 years law enforcement.
Yeah.
To be a sergeant, you have to have at least 5 years.
Okay.
But not even the time in is enough. You still have to pass the sergeant's exam, you still have to pass the oral board, and I still have to make the decision that they are to be promoted. Detective is the same.
If I had to guess, I'd say that the interest in leaving is not driven by state police, it's more driven by other departments.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. You had
From
three.
past precedents, we have never lost anybody to the state police. Now, with that said, state police have changed what they, so for a law enforcement officer, they must pass the main criminal justice academy, which is 18 weeks. To become a state trooper, you have to do an additional 10 weeks academy. They have now got rid of that. They've reduced it to 6, and by, what I believe, by January, they'll have got rid of it altogether. So that is opening up all certified officers then to immediately transfer over to the state police without having to be academy, and that's a big pull. That's what they're starting to see now.
Not for that it matters, but I'm just trying to keep it a little bit straight. Didn't the state police just reactivate their training unit, or not?
We have to-
Their state police academy, was that deleted for a period of time and they brought it back?
No, it's always been
It's
there.
always been there.
It just seems to be the past couple of years it's reducing. It used to be always that 10 weeks mandated, then they dropped it to 7, now they dropped it to 6.
And they operated it themselves. It wasn't in Vassalboro with the criminal
No,
justice.
it was in Vassalboro. It's part of the main criminal. Technically, the main criminal justice academy is the state police academy. It's just other agencies train there as well.
Okay,
But they require that additional 10 weeks to become a trooper.
and now it's 6.
Now it's down to 6, and supposedly by January, it's just going to be part of the FTO program. It won't exist anymore. So that's a big pull for other officers who've been in the industry for years, that they can now become a trooper, make a lot more money, move around the state a little bit more freedom without having to go to the academy again. That was a big blockade for most.
And is that because a lot of the recruiting is, they can't do it now to get people that wanna do the extra 10 weeks?
Honestly, for a person myself who went to the academy for 18 weeks, going back for another 10 is unmanageable. You know, it's just, you know,
No, but I
you
mean-
have a life, you have a family, you got kids. And
But I
then
mean,
you have to
first
start
out of the
right
gate,
again.
like young people doing it, is just, they aren't applying.
I think that was a huge factor, yes. For recruiting, it was a huge factor, because you're looking at 28 weeks of academy training, plus another 5 months of field training. So yes, it was a huge push. Plus, back in the day, you didn't get to pick in the state where you could go.
Right.
That has now changed. Now you can actually pick exactly where you want to go.
Okay,
The reason why we lost people to the sheriff's department and not the state police is the sheriff's department did not have that academy.
Right.
So basically, it's the same job, but you can just start Monday morning,
change the uniform.
change the uniform.
So, back to your point, Tyler, is that this, we set the bar, everybody else made adjustments, and now the mice are scurrying around to everybody else except the state police then. So it's the sheriff's office and then other municipalities.
Yeah, and they're trying to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, they're really trying to stabilize their forces with quite a few of the openings that they have. They're trying to get their openings filled with the higher wages. Is that
You know, all the agencies are down. The SO right now is 3 down, possibly 5 down in the next month. There's not an agency out there that is not down, it's statewide. So yes, we're kind of eating our young a little bit, because we are in desperate straits. A couple of weeks ago, I happened to spend some time in Ireland, and I got to drive around with the commandant of the Irish Gardaí, as they call it there. And he'd been doing it for a long time, and I asked him, you know, what's the major issues? And it's the same stuff as we have here, opioids, homeless, and stuff like that. I'm like, what's your number one fear? He says, keeping the doors open. Truly just keeping the doors open, because they're just not coming like they used to, and they're trying to retain the people who, with the mental health off the job now, a lot of people are getting out in 5 or 10 years that used to work 25. So it's hard to retain people continuously, because the job has changed so dramatically, and the outside people applying understand how difficult the job is now, and they just don't want it, which is understandable. There's easier ways to make money. So
Chief,
kind of where we're at.
the 3 you had to beg, can you give a general answer as to why they wanted to leave, if that's acceptable to say public?
Absolutely. Two things that all 3 of them came up with was schedule, pay, and the side note of it all was burnout.
Okay.
I can't do much, unfortunately, with the burnout until we get more officers. More officers, to spread out the calls decreases the burnout. I did change their schedule. That helped a little bit. I obviously could not do anything with the pay, and I didn't mention that I could do anything with the pay. I just ask them to hang on a little bit longer.
I believe when we had given that previous large hike, might have been with your transition from Chief Kelly. I could be wrong there, but
You know,
there,
I did a presentation about 2 years ago, I remember that very well.
nonetheless, there was a group that said, okay, when you implement this, they're knocking on the door and they're going to come.
Yeah.
Do you have any of that currently? That if we give $4 or $5 raise, that someone's waiting to come over?
I'll be honest with you, I've never mentioned it. I haven't talked to anybody about pay raises or anything like that. As far as my unit knows, that they signed a contract 6 months ago, and that's the way it is. I don't want to make any empty promises to anybody, so.
But you don't have someone from another community that says,
I've
hey,
I've had officers definitely, there's people from different departments coming and they're sniffing around, and then there's other agencies coming, sniffing, pulling my people as well. It's, that is the nature of the beast right now, especially when there's not many people out there.
So we're a department of roughly 18, right?
At 20 sworn.
And the largest unit other than SO, we're the largest unit.
Next to us, yes, the SO, yes.
So the cost of competing is a lot higher for us because we've got more people.
How many CSO have?
I believe fully staffed, I want to say 18, but don't quote me on that. It's 18 or 16. Because they have made some changes to their squads.
So we're real close, aren't we?
Our call volume's higher than the SO.
Council, this was the data up through October. As you see Presque on the left, 11,172 calls. With that, Aroostook Sheriff's 5996, so we are more than double.
We're double.
I wish that was publicized more.
Yeah.
Just because, you get people that call and lament about not coming to look for X, Y, and Z. Though they're just sitting there twiddling their thumbs in that. And then that should be on the front page of the paper saying, look, we got 3 times, or whatever it is, of that department.
Well, that's, in fairness, that's the true victim here, is the citizens of Presque. Because, God forbid, we are delayed in a call that we can't get to in time and something happens. And that's the kind of game that we've been playing for the past couple of years. One of these days, it's going to either kill an officer or kill a member of the public because we just can't get there. It's a tough situation to be in, obviously.
Tyler, did you say that left chart was per month
No, these are year to date,
through end of August,
through the end of October.
October? So it's right up current.
I remember during COVID, we were even a larger percentage.
Yes,
Three
COVID was
times.
a strange year, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
would you say that the percent is answering the call to go to the emergency room?
How many times do we have to go to the emergency room?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably difficult to do it over a 10-month period, but per week, per month,
Per week to the
Going-
emergency room. Well, last year we did over 1,100 mental health calls, and pretty much 80% of them will land up in the ER. And then anything after that, if we take somebody into protective custody for non-mental health reasons or something like that, you could, so I'd say if ER visits, you're probably looking anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 that we're at the ER.
You're talking bringing them there, not calling to assist an already existing
well,
patient.
I think it's kind of both, but I'm just, the attention we're spending at the medical center,
Yeah.
just that is a fairly healthy percentage of the total number of calls here.
Almost 10 to 20%, you're saying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Pretty high percentage,
Yeah.
and
15% would definitely be somewhere around the mental health, what we're dealing with.
so what we're dealing with as a community is the largest service center north of Bangor, with the largest hospital responding to the medical and substance abuse needs,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And that's in turn winding the clock down for our guys, and they're like burned out.
Well, yeah, and I brought this up before, cops aren't that complicated. arrest bad guy does crime, arrest bad guy, that's the satisfaction. There's no satisfaction now. We hardly ever get to arrest the bad guy and put them in jail. It's deal with mental health issue, take them to the hospital, get released 1 hour, deal with mental health issue.
Yeah.
That's where mental health damage comes for the officers, because they don't have that completed at the end of the day.
So it's a wash, rinse, repeat, and there's absolutely no break for them, no differentiating, it's just all one complete cycle.
It's exactly it. It's just a complete
So
cycle.
now the ask is to get away from the union contract that was negotiated over a long period of time with a lot of hand wringing, because it's not worth it anymore because of the situation in the community. The past 20% of the calls going in that direction. So
Does
how
the
much
union-
money is it going to take to say, well, okay, we'll hang around?
Right, well, with the union, I mean, are you using them for anything other than just negotiating wages, insurances and stuff like that? I mean, do they help with other stuff as well?
No, not that I think of. I haven't dealt with the union much. I wasn't part of the negotiations when this was negotiated last year. But we don't use the union for like mental health or any of that kind of stuff, no.
The hospital's still staffing security,
That's
as far as you know. Okay, so that hasn't decreased or anything.
No, not that I know of. No, they still have full staff, but they're not hands-on.
No,
They're the ones that call you guys.
Correct.
they are
They're
observers.
watching the monitors and they're addressing the situation, and then they're making a call to
They
you.
make the call. They'll stand by, but they're not hands-on.
Well, they hit pause first, and then they say, "We need a call."
We've attempted to have, we've
Derek,
had quite a few discussions with the hospital about it. I think it gets better for a short time, but overall the strategy continues.
Call back up.
If
Well,
we,
the way the main legislation is wrote, all protective custody situations or anybody that has the possibility of being blue papered must end at the ER door. That is how the legislation is wrote.
Oh wow.
Which they're not happy about. We have had many a meeting of that. At some point that will change, hopefully, when we start getting these mental health facilities like Portland has, that would be the spot that we will take them to. But until that legislation changes, that protective custody goes anywhere else but the hospital, that's just unfortunately where we're at.
If we make a reaction and have a decision and we're somewhere on this list, what's to stop the other communities from doing the exact same thing? We're right back when we were 4 months from now, 6 months from now.
As I said, I truly believe that what is fair is what, when we start looking at the actual amount, that 3276 is what I'm hearing statewide, that the chiefs are starting to agree that's it. That we can't, you might get 50 cent here, 75 cent here, but there's got to be that point that it equals out. And that seems to be, when the state police hit that number, a lot of people were starting to agree that is somewhere where it needs to be. Now, I can't say for sure if that is the number, if there's a dramatic change in inflation, or God forbid we lose a lot of officers in a major event or in a short period of time, that always changes things because then recruiting immediately slows down. It all depends on how many officers keep coming to the main criminal justice academy and wants to become police officers. And that's one of the reasons why I go there, is just to see who's coming out, and they're coming out, they're excited about work, and they're still coming.
Is enrollment seem to be up while you're on
Just-
that?
Gonna ask that.
Me too.
The enrollment was down a little bit, but now it seems to be back up again. We think that they could possibly get 100 cadets into this next academy, which is huge. Unfortunately, the amount of retirements and people leaving the industry is still outnumbering the young officers coming on. So until that kind of slows down a little bit, that's where
Would-
we're at.
Which pay these increases are going to assist that. Hopefully enticing. I think. I mean, if you were to give this, or actually, even if you just look at previous year's budget, where the heck was I? Average for a sergeant. Granted, some of those are newer or more experienced. $85,000 a year.
Yeah, for your senior sergeants,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So even if you have a sergeant here that starts out at $33 and you give them $4 or $5, I mean they're $75,000, $80,000 a year.
Yes,
You know,
not including overtime.
right. So I think eventually that's going to, you know, kick up and say someone that they want to come out of school and say, hey, look, I can make 80, 90 grand in a couple of years versus, I want to say, I remember when I started here, they were making like 16 or 18 bucks
Yeah,
an
I
hour,
started at 15.75.
which is just crazy.
Yeah, but would it essentially be 85, 90 grand? Because there's a 5-year period between being a corporal and a sergeant. So, I mean, at that point in time, wages are going to change, everything else is going to change. So it either can go up or it could go down. So, I mean, that's almost like a speculation. So,
Well, once you give someone a raise, you ain't
That
taking it
never
back.
goes down.
yeah, no, you're right.
No. And just to the airport revenue thing Scott had brought up about them paying the city now, that's not changing or causing an additional increase in revenue for the PD. That's basically staying the same. AKA, we can't get some of that money to help pay for this offset. It's already in the budget.
Talking the reimbursement for law enforcement?
Yeah.
Because the grant was already in here, right? So it's just basically a wash instead of the grant for revenue. It's going to be the airport showing the revenue coming into the PD.
That's yeah.
That's I recall that's ended, correct, Scott?
It ended, like May, June time frame. It was part of, when the final budget was passed in April, one of the things eliminated was the funding for this reimbursement program.
But that funding was coming in as revenues for the PD the past few years
Yes.
on the budget. Okay. So they're still getting that same or similar revenues. It's just now coming directly from the airport.
Yeah, basically, what I did was, I talked with the chief, I talked with the finance directors, and I said, look, you know, how much is this gonna cost to fully reimburse you? And we increased, the outside services budget by that amount.
Okay. So there's no extra money coming in there. Gotcha.
If we did anything, Chief Hayes, with the increases, can we just make an amendment to the union contract, or do we have to reopen the whole contract?
No, last time we did this, we just made the amendment to the contract because it went across the board, so it was very simple. It was just contacting the union going, this is what was agreed on, this is the pay rate, and that was it. They came back with a signature and it was very quick and to the point.
Right, but in remembrance of that, so we already worked in certain pay raises and such. So if we did this, they're already getting a certain amount of pay raise, and so in order to get you to that number, you can add a lower amount to it and still get to the same number. So what we did before is we added a number in, and figuring that was the raise, but then they expected that raise plus the contractual raise and the thing, so all of a sudden that raise plus this raise.
That would be correct.
So
Yes, you would take away whatever you.
So we need to
negotiated
just
in
kinda-
2025,
yeah, to say, you know, we've already negotiated this in additional raises, so we just learning second time around.
Yeah.
We just do the numbers so that we didn't give 2 raises
Yes,
and we gave 1 raise that was significant.
yes,
Yeah,
which went across the
Yeah,
board,
yeah.
yes.
So that was my big takeaway from the last one. Not that they weren't worth it, but it just in keeping our numbers, it inflated them kind of quicker than.
Yeah.
What is the delta? What's the gap right now?
Between,
Well, where we're at and where we wanna be.
$6.
well, that depends on where you wanna be, to be honest with you. If you wanna be, for us to be the highest paid municipality in Aroostook County, you're probably looking, it's kinda hard because Caribou have a nighttime differential, but I'd say you'd be looking somewhere around $354 to beat out the municipality, to match the sheriff's department, who we lose everybody to, or the state police, you're looking at a difference of $6.39.
I think what we said earlier though is we're not losing people to the state police.
We are not losing people to the state police, just the sheriff's
The
department.
sheriff's office, and the unfortunate part about the sheriff's office is that is included in our county tax that we have to.
We're gonna pay for that too.
So we're gonna pay,
Yeah.
I mean, take care of your own, correct, but then we're also gonna continue to pay for the sheriff's office's raises as well. Now,
Yeah,
the
that's
variable-
another animal, I think. I don't, that's an uphill battle, one that we should look at, but
I think
So-
the public should be aware of it.
yes.
As far as like this what if presentation sheet, chief, this thing, you're really somewhere around that $4 or $5. And now the question is there a COLA involved or no COLA involved?
I think Brad and Lori did all the numbers on it.
Yep.
They have all the exact numbers.
Yeah, we got those here.
The reference of with or without COLA, is that COLA what's in the contract, the union contract?
Yeah, I believe so. Is it yet?
Yes.
Okay. So the ones with COLA, you could almost
Well, we
just give the,
negotiated different amounts for different units, so we'd have to go back and look and just see
Well,
which ones.
even leaving that aside, I
Yeah.
mean, they already negotiated that. You wouldn't have to reopen the contract, I wouldn't think. You're just giving them a flat dollar amount more across the wage.
Yeah.
Versus, versus if you're trying to give an increase with, and then removing the COLA, you're truly kind of amending the contract, I guess.
Yeah, because we when we negotiated it, what we negotiated in different steps. We negotiated in different COLAs for different departments, and then some of them, and again, I don't have them all right in front of me right now, but some of them we gave certain dollar amount raise at certain points, so they got like a bonus of $1.25 an hour or this or that. So there was other bonus. We really got to really look at what we negotiated in those contracts, because, you know, if you
For tenure, you mean?
for
Length of time?
well, for everything, for 10-year bonuses, for the first year is this, but the second year you got to step up, and so there's some things that are built in. I don't know what they all are right now. I'm not against any of doing this, but we really got to look at that contract to see how we set it up, because you know, if you bring them in the first year up to the amount, you may find out that we had in some of those contracts we had second and third year bonuses to bring them up quickly, so that in our budget we brought them up to a higher level over a period of time to get them somewhere where they wanted to go dollar wise, so that the raises were spread over a 3-year period, but they were significant. So my point is that I don't know how this is set up, but if we give them, just say you match them at $6, we may have already set up in some of those contracts that the next year you got a $2 raise and then a $2. I mean, you might give them like a $9 raise or $10 raise over the next couple of years. So I got to go back and look and see what we negotiated.
So if we just, which is a good point, so we have it right here.
Because there's step raises. There's step raises on different years, and then there's
Yeah, the step
COLAs.
raises average, so we'll just do for patrol, for 2025's contract. Step raises go from $29.87 for 2 years. At the 3-year mark, they go up to 58 cents, they go up another 58 cents. After 5 years, they get another raise of 39 cents. And after 8 years, they get another raise of $8.04 after 8 years. So they go from 30.45 at the 3-year period to 31.88, which is that $1.43 raise, or 29-cent raise a year for 5 years. That's what I was talking about when it comes to retention.
So yeah, I guess what I'd like to do, I'd like to take it back and look at it, and I'd like to see where all those things fall in both departments, because the sergeants have a different contract than the patrol, and then we also had to keep a certain difference between the sergeant contract and patrol contract, because when you give patrol contract overtime, they were outpacing the sergeants, so we had to raise the sergeants to keep that from occurring. So there's a lot of dynamics that went into negotiating that with the union, and I'm not against doing any of this, but I just want to make sure that we do it, that A, it's meaningful, and B, that it meets what we're going to try to do here to match.
So this is being proposed for 2025, right?
Yes.
Can you email us just a brief summary, each line of, okay, officers for 2025 based on the contract? It's COLAs, X percentage, or whatever the increase is. Step raises, those are kind of built in no matter what. But unless there's a, like Craig said, a actual dollar amount where we were trying to bump the entire group up, just so we can see what they're already getting, or going to get.
Because when we were doing it with the union contract, then we had the different employees, and we had what their next 3 years amounts were. And I think if we did that and then put down below, you know, what a $3 added to it looks like, what a $4 added to it, and if we had pick a couple, 3 of those, then that way I think I guess the thing, I just want to get it right. I mean, I don't want to go back and negotiate this thing again, because we've got a 3-year contract that we just did earlier in the year, and just make sure that it's gonna work, you know. And also, you know, that being said, want to be mindful of all the other employees in the city too, you know, because I mean this is not just one department, and we have.
Chris, we got an opportunity
Yeah.
to meet again next week on the 20th. Do you think there's a way to answer or email out some of these numbers before the 20th? And then we could talk about it again. I don't mind talking about it as a group again, but, and it's absolutely necessary. The alternative is to do how we do the, negotiations, and that's put a working group of 2 counselors on it. But I know you've got a heavy schedule right now. Doug's hard to get away from work. You guys are probably the 2 most, you know, that I would choose to be on the committee.
I mean, after hours,
So-
I got lots of time, but I guess my point is, I just think we really need to get this right, you know. And when you came to us, you know, back at the beginning of your tenure, and discuss what the issue was, you know, I think we rose to the occasion at that time. I think we'll do it again. We just got to get it right, and I just want to make sure we do it in a way that's gonna.
There's a couple of benefits there
Be
too,
good.
Chief, is that you can, you know, some of the crew's watching on YouTube right now, probably, seeing what's our feeling. And our feeling is that we have their backs. We want to support them. We want them to be well appreciated, and they want to earn the correct amount of pay. We don't want to see them have to go to Portland or Cape Elizabeth or someplace else to do it. We want them here in Presque. At the same time, we want to make sure we get the number right
Absolutely.
as possible. My fear is that we're going to do this thing in another 12 to 18 months. It's just going to spiral, because those other departments can react and jingle the doorbell or do the dog whistle, whatever you want to call it, and we're back in the same boat again. And
Well, you're competing with the state's budget for 2 of those, which they got deeper pockets than us. That's another subject. But for Aroostook County, we're the most well-heeled city by far. So if it came to it that we were losing people, we would, I think, be more apt to be willing to, how do I want to say that, take an increase again, versus some of these other towns will say, no, we're just going to cut shift, or no, we'll just dissolve the department. You know, some of these departments, once it gets to a certain, if that keeps going and going, and you got to pay an officer brand new $35 an hour, there's some of these surrounding towns that are going to say, forget that, we're just closing the department.
Correct.
In that, we would be essentially the last ones to do that, which,
where it's going.
yeah.
I think this is a good proactive step right before anything does happen.
Well, I appreciate you talking to us in November before we finalize the budget for next year, as opposed to in January going, oops, or February,
Yeah.
when a new council's involved and there's 2 or 3
Yeah.
people that are like, what's this all about? And you're dealing with $250,000 to $300,000 in increased total cost to the budget. In the grand scheme of things, it can be worked into a budget. You're gonna make some cuts somewhere else if this is a priority. And so some programs and some things are probably gonna get replaced by this. But I think we're fooling ourselves if we think this is the end, because not only is it for these guys, but all your other public safety people are all gonna be coming in, and all your non-union people are all gonna be coming in too. So this is a tough cycle. Tough cycle. We gotta have the protection and stuff, but you really, I don't know what else to say, but you've got a gun to your head right now. And it's a bad term, but I don't see any other answers really here, guys. Except that you can manage your budget. You can take the money from other things, but you're gonna you do this for these guys. You're gonna have everybody else coming too. It's just
Well, that's fine, but at some point you gotta say these people are carrying a gun, dealing with junkies and wearing a bulletproof vest. You know, that some have to. You gotta be realistic at some point. Not saying that one is worth more than the other, but you know, when it comes to your life, it arguably is.
Mm-hmm.
So, in no way, out of respect to all the other departments, in no way would us increasing something like this to the PD be fair to do it across the entire city.
Right.
okay. Anybody else have anything they want to say?
Just speaking to the gold standard Chief Hayes mentioned as he opened, PIPD needs to be the gold standard, in my opinion. And I think that the team that he's assembled needs to be the gold standard of loyalty and camaraderie and dedication for their service. And however it's going to happen, I think we need to do what those ladies and gentlemen need to be that gold standard. I personally think that we owe it to them, regardless of what the state police is doing, the sheriff's office, whatever. I think PIPD's its own thing, and we need to do what we need to do to build that and support that team and have it be as effective as it can ultimately be. Bottom line is, these guys are they're the first responders to everything, from the hospital, to an accident, drug overdoses, domestic disputes, on down the line, all of it. I can understand how it would wear at their mental well-being, and that's a really tough thing to have to deal with, and they've got to be compensated appropriately and know that we've got their back and support them. So we got to figure it out how to do it.
And we can figure it out.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
We've got a great young team, we do. And, you know, and I think when we look at, you know, they've been out on different details and patrols and different things. You see them around town, and you see you see all of our public safety people. You know, I've noticed, you know, every time I see the ambulance go by, see the police department, you know, see the firemen that are out. You know, we've got a real blessing, I think, in that we have the staff we have, and we have those people in those positions, and in large part, there are a lot of people that are younger today. You know, that is great. So we're blessed to have that, and in our city, I guess the last thing I would just say, just in response to Doug too, is that our city has changed immeasurably in the last 10 years. We don't have things on Main Street that are empty anymore. We don't have storefronts, you know, I mean, I remember being in high school in the late eighties, we'd go down and paint windows at, you know, in the Christmas season from the schools so that you wouldn't see in the empty stores. You know, that was all up and down Main Street. You know, it was a dying area. It's not the way today. You know, go out and try to find 3 empty windows to paint something in. I mean, it's just because they're renovating something and there's something else going in. It's not because they're all going out of business. You know, look at the improvements we've had in our parks. Look at the opportunities that we've had in, you know, anything you can imagine, whether it's, you know, the programming that's at the rec department or the forum or different shows that are going on and all the different things that you folks respond to. We're not the same community we were. We're growing, and we're kind of on the cusp of becoming a much larger community, a much more vibrant community. But with that, as you've correctly noted, Chief, you know, that brings with it all of the other things. And so you know, we're not Caribou, you know, we're not Mars Hill, we're not any of these surrounding communities, which are lovely communities, but in their general scheme of growth, where they're going today, it's not where we're going today, you know. So we may compete with them on some wages here and there, but it's a whole different game that we're playing today than our surrounding communities are. And not saying anything bad about them, just saying our growth has brought on a lot of new things, and a lot of them really great things. And so I think I want to just really point out that this isn't the woe is me meeting tonight. This is, you know, these are really great things that are opportunities for us as we take the next step that becomes the next best version of Presque. So, you know, thank you for everything that your staff does and all of our other department heads and everything they've done, because that's where we're going, folks. You know, we're growing.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Do you think there's a way to send some of that information out before next week's meeting?
We'll be sure to get that.
Yeah, and just a reminder, we're shooting for November 21 Thursday, right? At
21st at 6 o'clock.
6, please. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good presentation. Lot to consider there. Item 5 is budget review. I'll ask you, Tyler, what you mean by in order of table of contents. So, what do you?
Didn't know how you wanted to go through. Did you want to go back through each department or just review some of the changes that have been made? How would the council like to proceed?
One thing, if you wanna review the outside requests, I don't know if you wanna do that now, so we can nail those down, or there's some changes in there.
You mean the stuff we had last week that were changed out? Yeah.
We can just then we can finalize that department, if you wanna discuss it. It's one thing that's kinda hanging out.
There was 2 or 3 things in there that I had some real questions about that maybe we can research a little bit. I wasn't really ready to finalize that one yet.
Was there any additions to what was talked about last week?
I think they were all in there, were just some increases.
The only one was
All the
the,
jobs, maintenance.
that one came in at the last minute.
At what point in time would it be a good idea, or would it be a good idea to discuss putting a request cap on our outside requests? I don't know what any of the council feels like about that, but, I mean, we're all over the map here on our requests. I mean, everywhere from $200 to 24,000. The more and more we do this, the more and more it's gonna go up. So, I mean, do we try to not put the brakes on it, but try to get ahead of the momentum that it has without being a bad guy?
Brett, do some other towns, they have just a general limit that they do, and that, or,
No, some is based on census data, or per capita.
like what ACAP requested, they had a formula, a nice formula on how they determined the figure that they wanted to request.
Right.
I thought that was great. I thought that,
I didn't know if you meant that or if you just like in general, the overall budget, we have a X dollar limit that we have to divide out amongst all of the requests. So like every year,
I see yeah.
so like every year if we had $80,000 total for outside requests, and then we had to divvy that out amongst everybody.
Instead of just having a open pot with no bottom.
Yeah.
I got you.
Like they could submit what they wanted,
Yep.
but then it would be up to us to decide they get this much and this group gets that much, and because then our outside request line item would never change. It would just be that,
Yep.
and then we
That's
choose
interesting.
for budgetary reasons, it'd be easy for us.
I mean, I'm just, looking at, in 2022, we had 56,450 for budgeted for outside requests, and 2025 we're just a tickle over 100,000. That's
The agencies they're all getting hit with the same inflation that's been.
everybody is. I mean, we're no different.
Exactly.
So I'm just curious,
Yeah, but there were a couple
when
of
should
our-
action be taken, or should action be taken?
Yeah, there's a couple kind of big new ones.
There was one that was like 24.
$4,000 children's services. That was a brand new request this year, correct?
I mean, I don't want to be the Grinch or be the bad guy or anything like that, but we need to, I feel, put a cap on some of these requests. Now, by putting say a $10,000 cap on it, well, now the guy that wants $300 for an outside request, that doesn't mean he has to automatically go to 10 grand. But, I mean, there's some modest requests and there's some
Yeah, I guess the thing
some bigger requests here, so I just don't know really if we should let it go.
Is the number you're looking at still total 100,427 for outside requests?
I think there was a couple you added to it, wasn't there?
Yeah, so
Well,
Well, we went, let's see, the Quaggy Joe went from 6,400 to 15K, and there was another one, the food pantry went from 3,000 to 3,500.
yeah.
But like the food pantry, I mean, geez, they're stretching their dollars.
Well,
Like,
and I guess
awesome.
that's the thing.
So how come they're not asking for 20 grand?
Well, the thing is, you got to remember, a lot of these organizations, what they're asking for from us is just a small portion of their budget or a piece of their budget.
I understand that.
And some of these organizations, I think, are asking for almost the entirety of their budget. So I think the difference is, and I guess that's why I had some questions on this, is I had a couple questions with a few of the requests of what portion of your budget does this make up? Because, if you're asking us for what you didn't do with fundraisers and what you didn't do with grants or what you didn't do with other things, I don't think that's necessarily as fair as some of the other ones that, they've got a $100,000 budget and they're asking for $2,000 from us to make up our portion per capita of whatever, which is reasonable. So that's kind of where I was going with it. I just kind of wondered, of a few of these, I just kind of want to know a little more about what is their total budget and what part of it do we make before we make a decision.
We do have the benefit of
Yeah.
looking at the data from the last 2 years, and basically they've been flat in 22 and flat in 23.
Yeah. On some of them, yeah.
How
And
far back did we go prior to getting our skinny budget? When we had our big book, didn't
5
they go
years,
back? Was it
maybe.
5 years?
maybe.
Not that it matters, but
But they were showing similar trends and stuff. So 5 years is equal to looking at 3, from a line by line item. Back to the question, Brad. I was just wondering if there'd be a way just to reprint page 168, which is that outside request line, just so that maybe tonight we could take that, put them in our books.
yeah, so it's all the same. You have what, 100,927,
427.
427. Yeah. So gift is actually 3,500.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a $500 difference, and Quaggy Joe was 15,000.
And I guess some of those larger ones like that, I kind of wanted to know, like, what's the total budget and what portion of it are we? I guess that was kind of what I was looking for.
Well, when
Because if their whole budget is 20,000, and there's, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying. And with the museum, I guess I'd kind of like to know what's their budget, and they're asking for 24. Is that the whole budget, or is that just
No.
part of it, or?
She either gave us that as a handout or it was in here. Cause she was projecting next year's revenue and everything.
Yeah, I think that was in the handout, Doug.
Yeah.
The Children's Museum.
Yep.
It should be in the budget book too.
And someone like, ACAP, that,
Yeah, it's pretty much
I mean,
their budget.
that's clearly not a majority of their budget.
No.
Page, yeah.
Page 181 for the Children's Museum. Looks like
I mean, I get it, these organizations appreciate and could use our support, but I'm just wondering if it's an account that we should just let run wild, that's all.
I agree, I think we need to come up with some sort of a formula.
So, and I'm just saying, my taxes went up $1,802 last year. So I think at some point we gotta figure out what we can fund and what we can't.
Mhm.
Cause I have a nice house, but it's not that nice. Yeah, and that's, Mike, you weren't here earlier, but thanks for coming over, but, we had a pretty long presentation about PD and, you know, could be $250,000 plus or minus. And the beauty or the challenge is going to be, you know, finding that $250,000 somewhere from other programs and other, you know, if
No,
we're.
I just say, my taxes were 6,400 last year, 8,200 this year. If they go up like that again, I'll be paying 10 grand to live in my house. So,
Expensive game. Yep. I think we have a responsibility to try to do what we can to keep a flat budget. I think we try to enter the budget season every year with that goal. At least for the 8 years I've been doing it. And sometimes we hit it and sometimes we don't. But the review, get back to that, is there a way to look at that stuff now, or do you wanna, is there a way to print that stuff out, the changes out so far?
No,
Are we done?
you just said,
Yay, alright,
oh,
we got that already.
So that, yeah, the bottom section is what we're working on now. So you see the 2024 and then the 2025 council is where we're at now. The 2025 manager up above that box, that was when we printed the book initially, so not a lot of changes, but you can see on the second page where we're at, so what changes we made.
So when would we go through and start making more changes or adjustments? Would that be at our next budget meeting? Would that be something like tonight if we
Or it
wanted to
could be-
add,
It could be tonight.
add or deduct amounts from any department, or how does that?
Anytime.
Well, let me ask, has anyone on the council identified a handful of areas where you thought, you know, that's way too high and you've got a more appropriate number? Specific ones?
Look at a few. I do have a few. I made some notes as I went along, so.
yeah, I'd have to kinda go back through here, there was one, the paving, I think was the biggest one that stuck out in my mind, but I mean, as far as going through and nitpicking
No,
everything else, or not, I don't wanna say nitpicking, but I mean, cause you can't really, I mean, everything just costs more.
Well, I'm
And
wondering
it costs
if-
more to do.
if,
But-
we could say the next week before next meeting that we unofficially come up with each of us individually a dozen or whatever, however many
Yep.
that we think should be adjusted, and then we
Yep.
compare numbers and
Right.
Is there any way, Brad, for example, all the staff, because it doesn't show what we have now, what for number of employees versus what they're requesting? Is there a way to figure out or print off? I'll use, not to pick on them, I'll use facilities for example. They're requesting 3 new ones. In the book, it doesn't show us that they're actually requesting 3 new. It just has what they're asking for. Is there a way to show that's they're asking, not instead of just pay increases, asking for new positions?
I think it would show in
It shows in there, there is a staff page.
the additional pages.
But I think I know where you're getting at. It doesn't show that
Oh.
they're asking for 3 new, it just shows like total FTEs.
Right. Or for all the departments that are not union based or contractor based, how much they how much they're asking for increase when it's more than 1 employee in that department.
Yeah, so everything
this is what
right
we want.
now,
That's what we
there's
want, isn't it?
4% COLA built
We'll
in,
miss
for all
this stuff
non-union,
here, but
Mm-hmm.
and then the unions are kind of separate.
Okay.
But it was all pretty much around 4% COLA, so that's why we stuck with that.
I printed this off the internet.
Thank you.
This is what I'm doing.
Non-unions.
I don't know.
alright. That's what was on my desk when I was doing.
Right, yeah, that's the wrong one. Yep. I got this
No,
on
it
there.
doesn't say it there.
Yes, I guess they
So what do we do to increase our revenues
Yes,
without
it shows
putting it on the taxpayer? We gonna have bake sales?
I want a casino, but it's just, I
Casino.
Bring in more tourists.
I thought
Tourists,
they
that's
were
right.
written in these narratives, but they didn't.
shows, events, tourism.
Yeah, I guess that's what
Yep.
I'm trying to get at. So we know,
Absolutely.
like, is this what we're at now? So if we said no, let's cut one.
My wheels are turning.
So pay for this now, or just cutting something that they're asking for?
With you are the properties that we don't understand what we can sell off, what we can revitalize. It's the strategy
Cause I mean,
to execute.
property tax increases and the real estate valuations, man, that hurts some people. And we need to come up with some money without having to do that, having to see that happen again, the way it did. But
For 2025, aren't we gonna, like the county tax, we did pay it ahead, and then we kinda had something that's a 1-year transition in the 24 budget.
See, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Was that just by?
Oh,
Three years,
that's
yeah.
right, we
Also,
averaged it
this is
out.
for more positions,
Okay,
but
so that's gonna
is
stay
this
the same
just
next year.
bonuses, or just pay raises? What signifies?
I say we write them an IOU for next year,
I think that's.
see what happens.
I'm gonna totally shut my mouth on my soapbox, but I have some feelings about how that all works, but yeah, I'll just kinda shut my mouth.
Oh,
But
shoot.
being the largest taxpayer, Presque in the county budget, you know, we have our own police department and, you know, so.
Mhm.
A lot of communities have given up their police departments, put it on the county, and now we're paying for that, so. And I'm not blaming the county, they're responding to what they're getting for requests, but those communities are kinda feeling like they get off the hook, but they aren't off the hook, cause now we're paying the largest part of it, so.
Tyler,
Well, is there any way we can negotiate that with
for the total taxable value for
That's a great
24 and 25 is the same. Do we know approximately how much that would increase for next year for the businesses and stuff that were not fully up and running yet this year? I guess my question for that is, I believe Docks was one of them that was mentioning, because April 1st this year, the car wash was not fully up, so we anticipated more tax revenue for this coming year because it was fully up and operate. Does that reflect that increase now, or is that increase going to be different?
No, that's just the same number what 2024 was, so we won't know that until the middle of next year, but if Lewis has kind of an estimate or something.
It'd be nice if we had like a rough estimate of what It could potentially be increasing. Cause there was that one, I don't know if the web building was mentioned.
Napa too, wasn't
Web
Napa
and
was
Napa,
another
there's a
one.
couple big ones that were not, that would be on the books for this coming year.
Correct. Did you
So
have
that
something,
could
Lois?
help us.
So, last year we had a really good year, and Webb was on the book. The Veterans Clinic
Yeah.
got finished, so there was a big increase. We had them on the books, just like we have the car wash now as a shell. In 2025, we will have that as a complete building.
Yeah.
But looking at what's going on out there right now, 2025 is not gonna see the increase that 2024 did, okay? There will be an increase, but not as significant by far. And at this point, it's really hard for us to get a good measure. By April, we have a good measure, but, right
Okay.
now,
Okay.
you can expect some, but we're not.
Gotcha.
I guess that's what I was trying to get was how much, if it would be a big note or not, I guess is what.
Some of the other projects going up are the, animal shelter, there won't be an increase there. It's exempt. I've got a couple of, exemption requests on my table that I have to get cleared off. And so it does go both ways. And again, last year we had a bumper year.
Thank you.
We kind of put this in perspective, the difference between 24 and 25, it's about 1.5, almost $1.6 million increase, but 730,000 of that, we used for surplus last year, so we're kind of already behind the 8 ball on 730,000 of that to make this flat for this year, so that's where we're there.
What is our current surplus, Brett?
That we can use, it's right around 2.5 million.
And what's our, we're currently ahead by about the 700,000 again, roughly this year, right?
Yeah, 1.8.
That was 700,000. It was all revenue.
Gotcha.
So we got that to.
That's still expected to be through the beginning of these heating seasons. That's all factored into it.
Yeah.
So we could potentially use the same amount as we did last year for the surplus for this coming.
Yeah, if we use the same amount, then we would have, take about half that, so another $750,000 that we
Yeah,
have
but
to
you got-
find to make it flat.
Yeah, you gotta be careful doing that because then when you have a down year,
Mhm.
your taxes are jacked.
So I guess the goal in our wish list is to find 700,000.
Well, that and the other question I guess I would have is, what do we have for things that are debt that needs to be paid off? And, you know, do we have any one time that we can remove, or, cause I know we've kinda done that up for the last few years here, and I think we're not probably too far with that.
Public Works Department, I think, has 1 year left.
And that goes away anyway.
Yep.
And then, that's how much a year, Brad? 100 and something thousand, or?
91,000.
Yeah, okay, it's around 100,000. And then, do we have any one-time purchase of anything going right now, bigger things? No plow trucks, no,
No, nothing that would be on the financing or loans.
You're looking for debt you could remove by
yeah, to see if
paying
there's,
it off.
yeah, if there's anything we could pay off, or if there was anything that was like a one-time purchase that we were gonna finance, but there really isn't, I don't think, no.
Doesn't appear to be, right? No.
No, just that Public Works. That's done in 2025 anyway.
So the 700, if the ask is to look for 700,000, that still would rely on us use the surplus to at the same level we did last year. And that gets us flat.
And that'll leave another 2.5 mil that's we haven't touched for now for rainy day, or say rainy day, for emergencies or whatever.
If we end the year at that 6-7
Are you still projecting that we should be close to that? Or
If you don't mind, I'd like, if Nathan, chat real quick about paving. I know that was a question in one of our last meetings. Do we mind talking about paving?
Sure. No problem.
So we had chatted, there was roughly 900,000 proposed for paving. And Nathan was asked to kind of review a lot of the roads that were on our list.
Yeah, to your request, Derek, I know you had driven a lot of the streets that we had on that list, and there was the major question was the Google Road. So we do have our RMRS, it's our schedule that we abide by for our roads. And you know, some of those roads that fall for next year, for the paving, they do look good. And could we push, especially for a road, could we push that a year? Absolutely, we could. You know, you're always running a risk when you push a road a year. It could be a rough winter and that road could get tore up throughout the winter.
reason why I picked that one was because that was the most expensive one.
Yeah. So I mean, then that would be, if we were to drop that road, that would put us, we'd be right at what we had last year. So we're right around 900,000 last year. We were at 620. That road's a little over 300,000 just to do that road. So if we were to drop that, that would put us back at that 600,000 that we were at last year. So it would be less of an increase on our budget.
That's 107, if you wanna look at it.
What was the terminology for your
It's the biggest nut.
calculations or methodology?
What do you mean?
The program you said.
Oh, RMRS.
Okay. How is that? Is there a simple explanation how that comes about?
So depending on the coating that you're putting on the road, if we're doing a 1.5 inch overlay, you know, it's good for 10 years or 12 years. So we just, based on whatever roads we did in 2024, those are now good for 10 years. They won't be on the schedule until 2034 to pave those again.
So
And then if we were to do, we don't do chip seal anymore, but if we were to do chip seal, it'd be a 7-year for those. So those roads would only be good for another 7 years before they had to be redone.
So what about the two roads that are paved the same year, but one gets 3 times the traffic?
It's still calculated at that same basis.
Do you think, is there a more upgraded or accurate? Because that just flat out, that's not accurate. And I know that's how we've always done things, but, you know, things don't have to be done that way.
No, I got you. I don't know of anything off the top of my head. It's definitely something that we could look at to see, you know, hey, if we have our AABT numbers and we know that those roads are getting 2-3 times as much traffic, is there a percentage factor that we can work into that to decrease the year amount on those roads? Something we can look at.
Yeah, is there something as technical as putting roads in different blocks of, okay, we know this road gets between 1,000 and 3,000 cars?
Yeah, and we can
Like
pull
categories?
pull those numbers from the DOT website for the traffic numbers for those roads.
For any of the roads?
Any roads that they take numbers on, there's certain ones that they do every year. There's others that they do based off of requests. You can go onto their map viewer and you can pull those numbers right from their website, and they'll show you the amount of cars that, based off of their survey, they'll then generate a projected annual number for traffic. So we could use that and work in a factor.
Right, but that wouldn't be applicable for any side streets or, you know, Cedar Street or, do they even, what would you call them, like, primary, secondary, and tertiary roads? You know, like, say Cedar Street compared to Pine Street. One's more of a secondary and one's a, you know, you can't put those in the same year group.
But so if that was something that we wanted to work into our numbers, we can request, and I will have to double check it, I'm pretty sure it's free of charge. We can request those machines from DOT to have them put on any streets we want, so we can get those numbers, and we can factor
Really?
those in, yes. I'll have to double check that it's free of charge, I'm almost positive it is, but we can request those and get those numbers.
Even if you did it over, you know, 3 or 5 years or something. Because I mean, however you change it, that would be a good, you know, idea if things do change for the next 20 years or something.
Yeah, they have some of the machines sitting down in Fairfield right now that we can call and request and have them brought up and put onto the streets.
Good first project for you.
Add that one to the list, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
First project.
So actually, if I could, quick,
Nate, what's the
Yes.
what's the difference between the city paving and the, I guess you call it state paving?
State aid.
Oh,
So
state. Oh, that's state aid.
and you
Okay.
50/50 split with the state.
So the pricing that's listed for the total cost, is that our 50% or is that the whole job
That
cost?
should be the whole amount, and then we get 50% of that back.
Gotcha.
So I wanna say we were around 200,000. Yes,
Yeah.
we'll get 100,000 of that back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I would not upset the state aid cycle because that's like moving heaven and earth probably to get them to schedule that, and it's scheduled several years in advance.
Yes.
So I would
We have some of our state aid roads on our system out to 2033, 2032 right now that we know they're gonna be doing.
so there's your traffic volume right there.
For the state road, for the state aid roads.
Say
Fine
this
for
was
anyone.
this and this was.
Well, that's just the colored ones?
Yeah, the colored ones are showing the cars per day that go down those streets. So if you look at Academy Street, you're between, 6 and 18K, and I don't have the filters set up right
I
now.
don't know.
This is
Where's
just-
I
that?
guess there's some things we should.
This is the
probably
place, this is
discuss
the
and
Placer
then
AI that we
come
have.
back with some ideas.
Oh, alright.
So, this is, did I send this to, I don't know if I did, but, like, for example, when you talk about in front of Walmart, you get 17,883 cars per day.
Yeah. Well, maybe we already have some of that.
Yeah, I mean, once we, and this is, again, we just entered into this 2 weeks ago, but once we,
Can you go out to the Brewer Road? It's to the north, Tyler. Yep. It's above the.
Where the television station is.
thank you. God, I love you, Bruce. Brewer Road doesn't even, 552 cars per day.
A
That'll be-
lot of that is heavy truck though.
Yeah, a lot of those are your heavier farm equipment trucks.
Yeah, but still, you've got that data. I didn't realize we had that.
Northeast construction.
Could say what your car insurance is when you find
Yeah.
so.
So, and Nate, if I can,
Yep.
with you being new here, just in general, if there are other aspects of this that you are, don't be shy,
Mhm.
that, no idea is a bad idea,
Oh,
what they say
absolutely.
or something.
Yep.
So, just because it's done like that, by all means, worst we can say is no, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, no worries.
You guys got some ideas of stuff you wanna write down in some emails of some things now?
Mhm.
Maybe? Derek, got a few ideas?
Yep.
Try to push as close as we can to 700, if we can, and, if we go over that, even better.
If you top a mill, we get a pizza party. Domino's has some pretty good deals right now.
So just so for next meeting,
There you go.
21st?
21st at 6 p.m., we are looking at, each council's gonna have at least 5 items to cut back to look for 700K.
Yeah, I don't mind sharing that stuff ahead of time, you
Yeah.
know, and punching that up.
Great.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Number 6.
Now, is it okay if we do a thread, or do we just gotta do single emails to you?
If you wish, legally, you should single emails to me, and I can compile and send to you.
Is that okay with everybody? It kinda, that way we're all being creative on our own too, right?
Yeah, true.
Great.
Okay.
Can we set a deadline of, say, Monday at noon, and you'll receive it by Monday at 5? Is that enough time, or do you prefer?
Well, we aren't gonna meet till Thursday, right?
Right.
No, but working on it over the weekend's not a bad idea.
Can you do it Monday evening so then we can have it for Tuesday morning?
I'll do the best I can. Stuff's busy right
Well,
now.
I was gonna say, if our meeting's till Thursday, can
Yeah, I
we
get it.
work till Tuesday?
Yeah. Say, send it to me by Tuesday
Yeah.
at noon, and I'll get it to you Tuesday by 5.
Send to Tyler by Tuesday noon. Okay. All right, good review. There is an item on here, item 6, to appoint the Deputy Director Tim St. Peter to the PIDF. Can you introduce that one?
Yes, so we have a,
He's left the room, so we don't have to do it. No,
Oh,
he's
he's
still
right
there.
there.
No.
Zag now.
he actually, he ironed his shirt today.
Sweet.
Obviously, they can see the PIDF, and given his role and his intricate knowledge, feel that he's the best candidate to be the member.
So there's an opening on PIDF right now?
So the PIDF, that would be the seat that I fit, is that the
No, we had a seat for the economic director.
economic development director? So
Get it, okay.
Well, so moved. I move we appoint Tim St. Peter to the PIDF.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Congratulations.
We don't like
That
do
was
anything
like-
cool
that was
like
like
night year or nothing.
30
so we're gonna-
seconds.
For a minute there, I thought we were gonna table it.
Thank you.
Is there any other business before us for this evening? Good? Good, guys? Anything else? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second by Eric. All those in favor? We're adjourned. Till